let's talk a little bit about your book.
Oh, yeah, it seems funny to say my book. It doesn't seem right to even say that.
You've just done it all in life. You started your own company, have become hugely successful with Kohl's, and now writing a book. It's amazing.
Yeah, well,
you don't sit still.
No. It was one of those things that and I think you mentioned earlier. Some people said, "Well, why did you write a book?" Well, I'm not a writer. I've never written a book, and I'm not even really a reader. Somebody said, "Oh, you read a lot of books?" No, I don't. Not that many in my entire life. But I read a lot of short articles, mostly technical, mostly scientific type stuff. But to sit down and read novels and things, it's a rare event in my life. So here begs the question, well, why did I write a book?
Exactly.
Several people, after the company, Kohl's Wild Bird Products, and it became more and more popular, and at trade shows people would recognize us. And several people said, well, you came from nothing, and look what you've done. You should write a book. And, while I was flattered, it didn't register anything like, well, why would anybody want to read a book I wrote?
Why would they not want to read a book you wrote?
And then as I got a little bit older, as I got a lot older, and I think you start thinking about your life and maybe trying to come up with a scorecard of how have I done? Have I done okay? Am I missing anything? In the years I've got left, is something I want to do? Where am I? And so I started thinking about that, and then the idea of a book came back and started kind of haunting me in the background, And finally I said, well, that would be a really interesting thing to try to do. Mm-hmm. It would let me do a scorecard on how I've done in life, if anything. And also it would be a personal challenge to overcome some problems I've had visually to see if I could actually write a book and how much of a problem it would be. So I started the task, I think about 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you spend a lot of time. The process was extremely interesting to me. I just started reading about how to go about it. Since I haven't done it, I just start writing because I didn't know where I was going with it. So I read about the different types of books and what I wanted to do. And then the process started, well, you got to have the information. If you're going to write about yourself, at least I could find most of the information. I didn't have to go to the library. So I started gathering old documents and little things like, well, when did I do what? Where did I live when? Et cetera, et cetera. So that took a long time, and that was fun. It's like cleaning out your old desk and your old files and your old pictures and saying, what's it all about? What have I got here? And that was maybe 6 months or more, just organizing and making notes about little things. And then I started saying, well, what do I want to talk about? Yeah. A life is a long, long time till you get older, then it seems so short. But it's like, well, what makes sense to write about? What's interesting and what may be interesting to other people? So I just cataloged those down and then started building up the information for each one of those little groups, chapters as they were, but they kind of turned into be chapters. And then you start the writing process. And that took a while. I got pretty much all the way through it. And then I had somebody edit it for me. And
that's so important, yeah.
It is, because what sounds good to me or what I think is interesting may not be to everybody. So they came back with some great comments about, you really don't need to talk about this, this, or this. This other thing was really good, emphasize that. And I read those suggestions, went back and modified everything and got it about ready. And then as the book was almost finished again, I think I was on chapter probably 19, and it ended up with 23. Then the story as it was got me all the way through 4 years ago. And about the time I was writing it and getting ready to finish it up, a whole part of my life changed.
I know, big time.
It was like, well, what do I do now? A major thing changed. And I'll just say it was a big secret that I was an adopted child. And I had been found in downtown Atlanta in 1944. I'd have been abandoned. So I grew up knowing that. I knew I was adopted. Wonderful people raised me. I call them mom and dad. They'll always be mom and dad. And they were older. so they didn't survive into my later years. But suddenly I was confronted with the fact that, I found out where I came from. So that's in the book. And that's what I had to go back and change a bunch of chapters, because the things I said, well, I'll never know. All of a sudden, I did know.
I know. And
And
such
so-
an exciting part of your life.
And it made an interesting change at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Richard's book, we did get a note during all of that. Kay Freeman says, just clicked on the Amazon and Barnes & Noble link, and although it takes you to the website, it doesn't take you directly to the book. It would be great if it did. So what we did was just to Google Distant Secrets by Richard Cole, Barnes & Noble, like to put all that in, or Distant Secrets by Richard Cole, Amazon.com. So, try that.
There we
and
go.
It should get you directly here to this link. The link is super long, but if you can put that into a Google search, you should get here to Distant Secrets.
Yes.
And very reasonably priced for this amazing book about the man who started Kohl's and literally started it out of his garage. And I do want to read some of the comments real quick. So Michelle Cooper McNeil says, beautiful photos, love them all. And I absolutely have to agree. And Sherry Rosen says, hard to do seasons in Georgia. It is, but we're a little bit. Maybe you could go on vacation and get some pictures. Anyway, so beautiful pictures from Sherry Rosen. That's
great.
for sure. Yeah. So anyway, you can get it. Did we show both Amazon and Barnes & Noble?
And
we did.
It's available
so it's
in
on both.
hardcover, the paperback, and the Kindle version is out there. And I think it's like maybe $2.99 for that. And
Yeah.
14 something for the paperback, and the hardback, I think it's $21.99.
Yeah.
$21.95.
It's a life rich in experience and courage.
Yeah, I like to think I'm a fairly private person. I kind of like to hide the background. And this is an abrupt change.
Right, it is.
And because I wrote about a lot of very personal things.
Right.
And private things and things that meant a lot to me. So, but it wasn't like I was showing it to everybody. I was writing it and then putting it in a book on my computer, so it's nobody's seeing it.
Yeah.
Then you get down to the point, well, is this a book? Am I going to put it out there? And I did, and I was happy with myself for doing it.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think it takes guts to do that.
it did. It was a lot more work than I thought it would be, because I mean, people who write really excellent books, they have an immense amount of talent. I just had to do a lot of hard work. It just didn't come easy. But it was I recommend something like this for everybody. I mean, as you get a little bit older, I mean, if you're 25 years old, maybe not. But when you get, past 70 or something, sit down and just go back and just make notes of all the things you've done, and the good and bad. I have several bad things in the book, things that have happened to me that weren't pleasant, but in the overall scheme of things, they're important to me.
Yeah.
And they were very memorable.
Usually you learn from them.
And
right?
you really learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I would trade any of those experiences in.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone should feel that way about it. It is the tough things that you go through that sort of help you deal with things as you go, and sometimes make you even more appreciative of when those things aren't happening anymore.
It's very true.
When your life gets
better. It's very true. Hello, this is Richard Cole. I want to thank each of you for watching, and I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to share it.